were the Italian police. They questioned him briefly, then set him free. It didn't take Luciano long to get back in the game. He quickly took control of the international heroin trade.
He somehow cornered the market and then found a way to get the heroin processed in laboratories and factories in central Italy. And then he found a pipeline to get the stuff to New York.
That pipeline led through Cuba, a mafia paradise. After 8 months in Italy, Luciano defied his deportation orders and fled to Havana.
The plan was always to get Lucky back somehow into the United States sphere of influence, so to speak. And while it became impossible for him to come back to the United States, I think Meyer Lansky and others persuaded the Cuban authorities to let Lucky Luciano come back to Havana to live there.
It was a totally corrupt society run by a dictator who was taking money and bribes from American gangsters to run the casinos there. So it was seen as an open town, Havana, for the mob, so Luciano probably thought he'd be safe there.
Safe enough to call a summit meeting. In April 1947, Lucky called together his old commission pals, Meyer Lansky, Albert Anastasia, Carlo Gambino, and Frank Costello. There was one more guest. He was singing in the hotel ballroom.
The excuse for the meeting was to celebrate Frank Sinatra and listen to his songs, but he was just a front. And during that meeting, they laid down a law on such things as the heroin route from Sicily to Cuba, and then from Cuba to the mainland of the United States. And Luciano was the chairman of the board at that meeting.
Other issues were on Lucky's agenda: the division of profits from Cuban casinos, and what to do about his childhood friend, Bugsy Siegel. Bugsy had been careless with mob money and had lost millions of dollars building the Flamingo Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas.
They sort of held a kangaroo court there and decided what are they going to do about Bugsy. And Lucky said, you got to kill him. That sealed Bugsy Siegel's fate.
Word of Luciano's reemergence in Cuba traveled back to Washington and the newly formed U.S. Bureau of Narcotics. They sent out a special agent, Harry Anslinger, to Havana to check out Luciano's operation. He saw plenty to worry about.
He said that Luciano was going to be using Havana as a pumping station for illegal heroin into the United States.
Mr. Anslinger was so intense and strong against Luciano that he actually persuaded then-President Harry Truman to make threats against the Cuban government by threatening sanctions against Cuba if they allowed Lucky Luciano to remain. The Cubans saw that as a reality and ultimately deported Lucky Luciano back to Italy. While making money is a primary function of organized crime, and it's what every crime boss tries to do, the fact of the matter is, I think that money is secondary to the amount of power that you have within the organized criminal group and the perception of the public.
Tell that to Lucky Luciano. By 1947, he had been deported from the United States, kicked out of Cuba, bounced back to Rome, then sent packing to Naples. To the New York families, Lucky was gone and seemingly forgotten, despite a monthly bag of cash, courtesy of Meyer Lansky.
Lucky Luciano became disenchanted and very despondent over the fact that $25,000 a month was not a sufficient sum for a person of his prestige, considering all the money that his friends were making in the United States.
He was miserable. He used to say, if they would just give me a week, just give me a week in New York and a week in Miami and I could die happy. But he was never allowed home.
However, the Italian paparazzi tried to make Lucky feel right at home. They were glad to have a real New